Okay, so about 3 weeks or so ago, I was invited to a friend's house for Friday night dinner. And the food arrived at the table, and this interesting loaf of bread came to the table at the same time with a relatively unique pattern. And I recognized the bread as tiger bread. But when I looked on the side and I saw some of the packaging for the bread, it was actually called giraffe bread. And I don't know how many of you have eaten giraffe bread before, but it seemed a little random at the time. So what I discovered was that 9 months ago, a 3.5-year-old little girl called Lily Robinson had been in a similar situation that I had been in and had looked at the bread and thought that the pattern on the bread was more giraffe-esque than it was tiger-esque. So as 3.5-year-old girls do, sent a note to the customer services team at Sainsbury's where the bread had been bought and made a suggestion that they change the name to giraffe bread. A lovely guy at Sainsbury's customer service sort of shot her back a letter, acknowledged receipt, said he also thought it was a bit silly, but this was what the baker originally called it, and gave her £3 off her next purchase, which Lily, I'm sure, then went to spend in Sainsbury's. It so happens that Lily's mum at the time had then posted this letter on her blog, and within a couple of months, it had started trending on Twitter. And then it started trending on other social networks. And then it sort of became, there were a couple of articles in some online news journals. And then it made the headlines on the BBC. So credit to Sainsbury's, they saw this sort of wave that was running through social media. They were listening intently to their consumers, to their customers within the social sphere. And 6 weeks ago, Sainsbury's officially changed the name of tiger bread to giraffe bread in their stores, thanks to Lily. So here's the letter that she actually sent to Sainsbury's. For me, although this is just a cute example, it really highlighted a couple of dramatic shifts that we're seeing in the way that marketers are engaging with professionals today. And specifically in the B2B space, we're seeing three sort of trends which I think have been relatively acknowledged in the B2C space, but are only just entering the B2B market. So the first one is that it's about relationships, not necessarily about the transaction. And what marketers are asking themselves today isn't necessarily when and how much, but who and how engaged. Relationships really matter. And today, with the advent of social media, B2B marketers have the ability to develop those relationships with their customers. The second one is that it's about conversations, not monologues. In most instances, people are already talking about those brands within the social sphere. They're already having conversations about the likes of HP, IBM, Philips. And your role as a marketer is to deliver such relevant content to those consumers that you actually get invited into the conversation. And the third one is that emotion is good for business. I think, again, this is pretty established within the B2C world, but emotional is the new rational. Like, if you can establish that emotional connection with your customer base, all the traditional metrics that you would see go through the roof. Increases in sort of propensity to recommend, purchase intent, brand awareness. You really have to strive to build that emotional connection with your customer base. So I thought I would share a couple of examples of two brands that I think have taken and recognized these three shifts and done them particularly well within the B2B space. So firstly, I wanted to give you an example from HP. And versus me talking to you about HP, I thought it would be more valuable to have the HP marketing manager show you the case study.
The challenge we were looking to solve is the perception of HP as a large IT manufacturer who is very good at supporting large corporates, to making sure that our small business customers understood that we could be their trusted advisor. The solution we arrived at was trying to make use of existing tools. So we had a business answers hub, which was full of information, white papers, testimonials, videos, but the content wasn't readily available to our customers, or they didn't know where to find it. We decided to set up a group within LinkedIn to act as a space where small businesses can communicate with us, we can have a dialogue, they can communicate with each other, and we could answer their questions while they feel that we're contributing to their business and helping with their business issues, rather than being spoken at or communicated at by HP. LinkedIn was chosen mainly because of its professional network. The people who are on LinkedIn are very receptive to receiving communications because of the professional nature of the environment.
with HP specifically, 10 years ago, HP, a relatively traditional marketer, and today a really great example of a marketer who recognizes the value in engaging in conversation with their consumers and with their prospective customers. Another example is Philips. So Philips came to us about 18 months ago and challenged us to help them become thought leaders within the healthcare space. So many of us think about Philips from a consumer electronics perspective, but from the healthcare standpoint, they make products within radiology, oncology, and cardiology. And finding an audience of all of these different sort of fields and bringing them together somewhere on the web is incredibly challenging. So that was the challenge that they posed to us. So what we delivered for them was a custom group on the platform whereby we brought together over 38,000 people that work in those fields. There's been over 4,400 discussions that have taken place. And I think most critically for Philips, within that group, there was a net promoter score of 50. So the propensity to recommend Philips was far greater than most other brands from a NPS scoring perspective. I think one of the key takeaways that we took away from this group as well, and that what Philips realized, is that social media doesn't just play a part in your Marcom strategy. In this instance, Philips recognized the value of social media in general for PR, for customer service, for product development, for analytics, research, insights. And therefore, when we talk to marketers today, we encourage them to really think about how social media, not just LinkedIn, but Facebook, Twitter, various other platforms, how you can put that at the center of your overall business strategy versus just your Marcom strategy. So to wrap up, the conversation that we're having with marketers today is recognize that relationships really do matter, and especially in the B2B space. Recognize that you need to engage in conversation. It's no longer just sufficient to broadcast out a message. And then finally, sort of always challenge yourselves to determine how you can build an emotional connection with your customer base. Thank you.